What's up, everyone? Happy Football Thursday, Football Friday on Football Thursday. Just me today, so we're going to roll through UFL Championship this weekend. Super excited for Saturday night. DC Defenders, Michigan Panthers in the Dome in St. Louis. Going to be a great matchup. Talk about that in a little bit. We also got the Saints and the Falcons draft recap or off-season recap here, so we'll talk about that as well. College football news, college game day announcing it will start its season at Texas, at Ohio State, so in Columbus, Ohio. It will also be Lee Corso's final broadcast back at the place where he started the headgear selection, picked Brutus way back when. Hopefully he picks the horns this time. Transfer portal note, Colorado running back Isaiah Augustave. He has committed to South Carolina, pretty solid freshman year last season. So USC getting a solid player there. UFL news, the awards, the rest of the awards, except for MVP is the only one that has not been announced yet, but a couple other awards being announced. Offensive Player of the Year goes to Panthers quarterback Bryce Perkins. Defensive Player of the Year, Battlehawks edge rusher Pita Taumapenu. I kind of hinted at that a while ago, a couple weeks ago, probably a month ago. Finished the year with 7.5 sacks, led the UFL in sacks there. Assistant Coach of the Year, Defenders offensive coordinator Fred Keiss led one of the most explosive offenses in the UFL, first in total yards as well. And Coach of the Year, Defenders head coach Shannon Harris, well-deserved. DC was leading the league in a lot of categories most of the season, and of course, leading them to a UFL championship berth. NFL news, Patriots, they play center Wes Schweitzer on their reserve retired list, so he has retired, signed him from the Jets in the offseason, but a little bit less depth at the center position there for New England now. Couple extensions that went down this week. The Vikings, they signed tight end Josh Oliver to a 3-year, $23.25 million extension. $11.9 million in new guarantees. Pretty solid deal for Josh Oliver. I was kind of surprised at this deal, but Vikings like him. They like him for the future. TJ Hawkinson is getting up there around 30 now, so looking potentially at the future tight end for the Vikings there. Seahawks, they signed punter Michael Dixon to a 4-year, $16.2 million extension, making him the highest paid punter for the second time in his career, I believe. Very, very good, I believe. I think he led the league in net average last year. I could be wrong, but maybe that was the year before. And the Commanders, they signed special teamer Jeremy Reeves to a 1-year extension, remains the highest paid special teams player in the league. Couple of free agent signings. The Broncos, they signed Chargers running back J.K. Dobbins to a 1-year, $5.25 million deal. Very good addition for Sean Payton's squad. They wanted to, really lean into that running game this year. And I think they're going to be able to do that with J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey, and Audric Estime there, the main returning back in the Denver backfield. And the Raiders, they signed Bengals linebacker Jermaine Pratt to a 1-year, $4.25 million extension. That was excellent value for Las Vegas. I was totally shocked when I saw that number. I was like, really? The Bengals couldn't do that for Jermaine Pratt? I mean, that was kind of wild. He did not get the long-term deal that he wants, but gets to move somewhere else. And excellent addition for defense there. The Bills also adding a defender. They signed Panthers linebacker Shaq Thompson. Deal makes a ton of sense. Was with GM Brandon Beane, head coach Sean Payton in his early years in Carolina. And now reunites with Payton in his later years of his career now that he's over 30 there. All right, UFL pick standings. We all went 1-1 last week. Jimmy lone wolfed both of the conference championship games, and he hit on the Michigan Panthers over the Birmingham Stallions, lost St. Louis Battlehawks against the DC Defenders. So once again, Danny has had it locked up for a while. Jimmy and I, though, we are still in competition. We're fighting it out for that second spot here, and it's going to be a fight because the UFL championship, the DC Defenders, Michigan Panthers at the Dome in St. Louis, 3-point favorites is the Michigan Panthers. And Jimmy, once again, and you are going to be wrong, sir. I wish I was lone wolfing my DC Defenders. This is the second time in 3 years the Defenders have been in a championship game. They lost to the Arlington Renegades in the XFL championship in 2023. Michigan obviously has not been to a spring championship because they haven't been able to get past Birmingham. So this is big for both of these squads. And I think sort of like the Eagles, right? The Eagles lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 57. Came back 2 years later, beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. That's what's going to happen in this game. Even though they didn't play the Panthers in their XFL championship in 2023, the DC Defenders are going to come back 2 years after their last championship appearance and win the championship. This team is a team of destiny. They deserve it for everything that this team has been through. Coach Barlow and coordinator Williams moving on early before the season with Coach Barlow and then mid-season with Coach Williams. They've had injuries. They're likely going to get Ty Scott back, which would be a massive boost to this already great offense. Jordan Ta'amu's playing excellently. The running game was rolling last week, and it's going to be the toughest defense they faced. And they got demolished by Michigan in Ford Field, the last time they played. So it's a revenge game for DC as well. You have to tackle Bryce Perkins when you get hands on him, wrap him up, get him to the ground. That's big key for the DC defense, who had been shaky until last week. But you're not facing Max Duggan. Bryce Perkins can actually throw the ball. So you have to get pressure on him. And hopefully the defensive injuries for Michigan matter. Kenny Willekes, Adonis Alexander. DC did not have Calvin Joseph last week. They will not have him again this week after a car crash incident with him. But yeah, this is going to be an excellent game. 2 7-4 teams. One team's going to roll out with 8-4 and a championship trophy. So go DC, defend the DMV, and I will be excited to go to DC for the championship parade. Getting into the Saints and the Falcons offseason here. Saints losing quarterback Derek Carr to retirement, running back Jamal Williams, and fullback Adam Prentice. They are both free agents. Wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling went to the Seahawks. Offensive tackle Ryan Ramczyk retired. Offensive tackle Oli Udoh went to the Titans. Guard Lucas Patrick to the Bengals. Guard Shane Lemieux is a free agent. Edge rusher Peyton Turner to the Cowboys. Edge rusher Tino Passanio to the free agency there. Linebacker Willie Gay Jr. to the Dolphins. Linebacker Anthony Orji to the Titans, and corner Paulson Adebo went to the Giants. A lot of names on there. I think Paulson Adebo, obviously the biggest loss. I'm not sold on the secondary by any means, but that one, I think losing MVS as well. They are already pretty shallow at the wide receiver position, and they lost one of their best deep threats there. The offensive line ones, I don't really mind. They did a good job of replenishing that in free agency and the draft, but I would not. I think they should definitely try to get back Shane Lemieux. I mean, he's been a serviceable interior guy most of his career, so I would like to see him back potentially, but I don't mind it with the other guys that they have already inside there. And of course, Peyton Turner, big time bust as a former first round pick, just never met his ceiling there. So maybe a change of scenery will help him elevate to that first round pedigree. Additions: wide receiver Cedric Wilson Jr. And wide receiver Dante Pettis re-signed. They got wide receiver Brandon Cooks from the Cowboys, coming back where it all started as a former first-round pick. Wide receiver Velus Jones Jr. from the Panthers. Tight end Juwan Johnson re-signed. They got tight end Jack Stoll from the Dolphins. Offensive tackle Dylan Radins from the Titans. Defensive tackle Jonah Williams from the Lions. They traded for defensive tackle Devon Gottschall. Edge rusher Cam Jordan they re-signed. They re-signed edge Chase Young and linebacker Nefi Sewell. Got corner Isaac Yiadom from the 49ers. Defensive back Ugo Amadi. Safety Tyrann Mathieu re-signed. And safety Justin Reed they got from the Chiefs. So, again, I think they did okay. Obviously, the Saints are one of those teams that's always cap-strapped. So, I liked the Cooks addition. I think he's going to give them something at the wide receiver position, where it's a big uncertainty who is going to even be there with Olave's concussions and whatnot. Devon Gottschall's very solid interior presence there in the run game. Getting Jordan and Young back were essential to that pass rush. I like the Yiadom addition, and it's just this team's kind of old, to be honest. They, especially on the defense. I mean, you look at Demario Davis, Justin Reed, Tyrann Mathieu. They're not very. Chase Young, Cam Jordan, those guys are pretty long in the tooth. And then offensively, you're getting Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz are starting to get up there. 2019 and 2020 draft picks, respectively. Juwan Johnson's not young anymore. Neither is Foster Moreau, Alvin Kamara. This team needs a reset eventually. Don't know if they'll ever do it, but sure. But yeah, I like the additions for the most part. They serve their purpose essentially. Nothing massive numbers-wise. I think it's kind of a wash in terms of losses and additions. To the draft for the Saints, offensive tackle Calvin Banks Jr. of Texas, number 9. Quarterback Tyler Shuff, Louisville, 40th overall in the second round. 2 third-rounders, defensive tackle Vernon Broughton, Texas, 71st. Safety Jonas Sanker of Virginia, 93rd. 2 fourths, linebacker Danny Stutzman, Oklahoma, 112th. Corner Quincy Riley out of Louisville, 131st. No 5th-rounders. 6th-rounder, running back Devin Neal, Kansas, 184th. 2 sevens, tight end Maliki Mataval, UCLA, 248th. And edge rusher Fidel Diggs, Syracuse, 254th. Saints was one of the better drafts in terms of my needs. They filled 4 of my top 5, and they filled 7 of the 9 that I had. I really love what they did at the beginning here. These first 2 picks I thought were excellent. Banks and Shuff. With the Trevor Penning issue not really working out, and then Ryan Ramczyk retires, it was essential to get Kelvin Banks onto this team. They needed a left tackle of the future with Talise Fuaga, drafted last year in the first round to be the right tackle. So now they have solidified the edges, and I definitely like the addition there. Tyler Schuff. Tyler Schuff was one of my favorite quarterbacks for the Steelers, actually. I really liked him. He won MVP, I believe, or practice MVP for the quarterback. Overall, I think MVP. I can't remember, for his team at the Senior Bowl. But he was really good at Senior Bowl. Has ideal size, can sling it. I'm not sure about the overall deep ball arm strength, but he's sharp mentally, tough, and I think he's going to be a great addition, potentially be the Saints' next QB there. Vernon Broughton's a guy I really like inside as well. He was brought in to stop the run, much the same as Devon Gottschall was. Adds a lot to that, adds even more to that pretty stacked interior D-line group there with Nola. Sanker, I thought that was a little high for Sanker, but they needed it. They needed safety, and it's they solidified that position now with they kind of run 5 deep there. Love Stutzman. Stutzman's a great addition to this linebacking core. Potentially a guy that can take over in the future for Demario Davis. They also had 22 fifth-rounder DeMarco Jackson there, 24 fifth-rounder Jalen Ford, and guy I mentioned re-signed Nephi Sewell there as well. Quincy Riley, I thought that was solid value in the 4th round, guy that some people thought was going to go in the 3rd potentially, but I like that. The corner room is still kind of iffy, not very deep at all. So I think Riley's going to play a pivotal part on this New Orleans defense. Devin Neal, it's good value in the 6th. I'm not that high on him. He was very good at Kansas, but I'm not a big fan of him, nor am I a big fan of this running back room with, Alvin Kamara's age, Kendry Miller's injuries. They do have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who they re-signed, Xavier Valade, who I absolutely love. Marcus Yarns, wow, they signed Marcus Yarns undrafted free agency. Beast of a back out of Delaware. PPR machine, I think. The 7th rounder, I don't really like the Mataval selection. I did not see a need. I did have tight end as a need, but it was way down at the 7th need for me. So I'm not very – I don't really like Mataval too much. Didn't watch a ton of him either, but it's going to be an uphill battle for him to even make the roster with how many tight ends they have. And then Fidel Diggs. Really like that addition. I thought they should have hit edge rush earlier, but they had a ton of needs, and edge was my 6th need for them. So I like it, though. Fidel Diggs, that's a very good value, I thought, at $254. So for New Orleans, I'm going to go with a B-, I think. It was okay. I love the first 2 picks, the Riley pick, but it wasn't very flashy, and I don't think a lot of these guys are going to play significant snaps within the first couple of their years of their career, unfortunately. To the Saints' schedule here, home against the Cardinals, week 1, home against the 49ers. They go to Seattle, so they got 3 straight NFC West opponents. To Buffalo, home against the Giants, home against the Patriots, at the Bears, home against the Bucs, at the Rams, at the Panthers. Week 11 bye, a little bit late, but that's not terrible. Home against the Falcons, at the Dolphins, at the Bucs, home against the Panthers, at home against the Jets, at the Titans, at the Falcons. So yeah, I mean, it's all predicated on the quarterback, right? That will make or break the Saints season, whether it's Spencer Rattler, Tyler Schuff. I think it will be Schuff eventually. He's the better player, in my mind. We saw what Rattler did last year as a rookie, was not very good, but we'll see what transpires in training camp. But overall, it's sort of a difficult schedule when you look at it. The Seahawks, the 49ers, the Rams. You got to play the Bucks twice, obviously. The Falcons and the Panthers, I think, are wild cards. The Bills are going to be hard. The Bears. And you never know with the Dolphins either. So, yeah, I think there's opportunity potentially for some wins. But I don't know if I see this team, dropping back further than ninth in the draft order, really. To the Falcons offseason here, and that's why I got my Georgia hat on, got my former Alliance of American Football, AAF Atlanta Legends t-shirt on here. For the Falcons, losses, running back Avery Williams went to the Eagles. Wide receiver Rondale Moore to the Vikings. Center Drew Dahlman to the Bears, as did defensive tackle Grady Jarrett. Defensive tackle Eddie Goldman went to the Commanders. Edge rusher Matt Judon is a free agent. Edge rusher Lorenzo Carter went to the Titans. Linebacker Nate Landman went to the Rams. Corner Antonio Hamilton and safety Justin Simmons and kicker Riley Patterson are free agents. And safety Richie Grant went to the 49ers. Again, not massive losses. Drew Dahlman was a big one in the center, in the middle there. But they just signed their guy Ryan Newsel to a 2-year extension, so they seem to like him more than they liked Dahlman. Didn't want to give Dahlman that much money. The Jarrett and Goldman ones, Jarrett was a hard one to swallow, I think, just because he was a franchise cornerstone, and they have drafted over the last couple of years the guys that are going to be set up inside there, specifically Ruka Rororo, who they drafted in the second round last year. So he's going to be the new nose. But Jarrett was a hard one to let go. Goldman, I don't think as much. He's getting up there in age. Judon wasn't very effective when he got traded from New England. Cost the Falcons third-round pick. That was tough pill to swallow there. Lorenzo Carter, though, I thought that was a it was a loss. I think this pass rush has been scrutinized a lot, and they tried to get it fixed this offseason. We'll see if it works. But, yeah, Carter I thought was a tough one. Simmons as well. I don't know why Simmons is not signed. I guess they like their safeties. Sure. Additions. It was pretty quiet offseason in terms of additions for the Falcons. They got quarterback Easton Stick from the Chargers, wide receiver Kadero Hodge they re-signed, tight end Felipe Franks from the Panthers, tight end Tegan Quatoriano from the Texans, offensive tackle Brandon Parker re-signed. They got defensive tackle Morgan Fox from the Chargers, edge rusher Kentavious Street re-signed, edge Leonard Floyd from the 49ers, linebacker Devon Diablo from the Raiders. They re-signed corners Mike Hughes and Kevin King and D. Alford, and they got safety Jordan Fuller from the Panthers. So not very impact. Leonard Floyd, I think, is the best one by far out of that free agency class there. He's going to instantly start and be their number one pass rusher potentially. Falcons draft, hated it. Absolutely, it was one of the worst drafts. In terms of my needs, they only filled 2. They double dipped at edge. I had needs for them at wide receiver, interior D-line, interior O-line, punter, and tight end 2. They got the tight ends, I guess, with the free agents. But wide receiver, interior D-line, and interior O-line, I'm not so sure that they fixed that. Morgan Fox, sure. The interior D-line isn't terrible, but I would have liked some upgrades, especially with what this class was. Interior O-line, I'm not sold on at all in terms of the backups. Kyle Hinton, Javon Gwynn, a 23 7th, and Elijah Wilkinson. Sure. I do like Josh Gray out of Oregon State, undrafted. And wide receiver, I think wide receiver is somewhat of an issue. I just thought they could have done better. then Ray McLeod at number 3, and Darnell Mooney was a stud last year for my fantasy team, but they need something better at wide receiver too, I thought. So, anyways, that was just me. But again, I did not like that. This team had more needs than just edge, and I do like the player that they got. Jalen Walker is excellent player. Out of Georgia, go Dogs, 15th overall. Otherwise, they traded up in the first round to get edge James Pierce Jr. at Tennessee, number 26. No second round pick. Third round safety Xavier Watts, Notre Dame, 96th. Fourth round safety Billy Bowman Jr., Oklahoma, 118th. No fifth or sixth rounder. Seventh round offensive tackle Jack Nelson, Wisconsin, 218th. Again, I did not like it. The James Pierce trade cost them way too much. It cost them a first-round pick in 2026. That made no sense. We've seen teams trade up for edge rushers before, and it just does not work usually, especially when you're trading up in the back end of the 20s. There is no shorties in the draft, and it gets less and less likely that you are going to hit on a player as you go down the draft board. So we'll see. James Pierce was dropped for a reason. Character concerns were the biggest issue with him. But I like their guy that they drafted last year, third round, Braylon Trice, more than James Pierce potentially. They have guys. They've put a lot of draft capital, a lot of high draft capital into this edge rush. It has to work now. Leonard Floyd has to lead these boys. It's Leonard Floyd, Jalen Walker, first rounder this year. Arnold Ebiketie, second rounder 2022. James Pierce, first rounder this year. Braylon Trice, third rounder last year. D'Angelo Malone, third rounder in 22. So those are essentially your 6 guys. You got Khalid Kareem as well. But those 6 guys, they have to be it, and they got to make it work. If this Falcons pass rush is finally get back, get something going there. I love Billy Bowman. Again, I love the players, kind of. Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman, 2 excellent players. Bowman, they're going to move to nickel full-time right now, which I don't think is a bad thing. They needed corner as well, and so I do like him there. Xavier Watts, I think that kind of necessitated the Justin Simmons non-re-signing. So I do like Xavier Watts for sure, hard hitter. And then, Jack Nelson is a 7th rounder, not going to do much. They do have the longtime stalwarts, Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry at the bookends. So Chris Lindstrom as well, getting up there in age, 2019's first rounder. So I think they could have done better, though. Did not have to trade up for James Pierce. Someone would have taken him probably before them, yes. But I do not think this team has enough weapons for Michael Penix. Again, tight end 2 still stands out to me as an issue. Charlie Warner is the tight end 2 right now. Maybe he competes with Tegan Cotoriano and Felipe Franks, but I do like Josh Simon there out of South Carolina, undrafted guy. But this wide receiver position, I think could upgrade it. Kadero Hodge is a special teamer. He won a game actually as a wide receiver last year, though. Nick Nash, I love that undrafted signing. He is a monster, led the nation in receiving last year. I think he should make a play for a spot. I think he will make this team. He should. He has talent too. A big body guy. So, Falcons draft, though, I like it a little bit more now than when I did on the draft recap, but I'm still going to give it a C here. Yeah. I'm going to go with a C. It's probably a lot higher than I gave them immediately after the draft. But, yeah, C for me for the Falcons. Schedule-wise for Atlanta, got home game against the Bucs week 1, at the Vikings Sunday night, at the Panthers, home against the Commanders, early bye there week 5, home against the Bills Monday night, at the 49ers Sunday night, home against the Dolphins, at the Patriots, at the Colts in Berlin, home against the Panthers, at the Saints, at the Jets, home against the Seahawks, at the Bucs Thursday night, at the Cardinals. That's a tough stretch. 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 7 or 6 out of 8 on the road there. Home against the Rams Monday Night Football, home against the Saints. So yeah, that's rough. 6 out of 8 in the midseason are away, including a game in Berlin. Gosh. But anyways, this team is a wild card. We do not know what Michael Penix is going to be for a whole season. We only saw it in a couple games last year, and he looks pretty good. I'm still not confident in this team that they can go out and just win and win the division and make the playoffs and everything. I think they'll be close. They have a roster that's decent. Obviously, the pass rush and the defense has to play better. They need to get more out of Kyle Pitts for sure. But I do think this team's capable of being on the cusp of the playoffs, pending Michael Penix. But they play a lot of special games, 5 primetime, and the Germany game, which was kind of surprising to me when I did the schedule here because of, this team wasn't touted as being like one of the better teams in the league. So, but they are playing some of the better teams in the league on those games, right? Bills, 49ers, Bucs, Rams, Vikings are a question mark, but this schedule is tough. Commanders, Bucs twice, Panthers, Vikings are a wild card. So are the Dolphins and the Patriots. Seahawks, Cardinals, it's not going to be easy for the Falcons this year, and we'll see how it works out, though. Next week, it will not be the UFL playoffs. It will not be the UFL championship preview. It will be summer week 1. We will just be having news and talking about stuff. 49ers and the Packers off-season recaps next Friday. We're going back to Friday next week, I promise. Interesting, those two lined up on the system that we're doing of the bookends of the draft here. So love when that happens. 49ers, Packers. Hopefully we can get some Packers fans on here and talk about their Green Bay Packers. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast, Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at FAA.podcast. And we will see y'all back on Monday.